Hello, and welcome to the Old Farm Bus Podcast. This is the back of the bus session.
Hello and welcome to the Old Farm Bus, Back of the Bus Sessions podcast. I'm buzzing today because I get to talk about something I'm very, very deeply passionate about with a new mate of mine. It's Ryan Smith from Let's Be Frank.
Mate, what can I say? I've been following this now for a good couple of months and love what you're doing down here, buddy. And I want to come up the other week to have that chat.
Are we high-fiving already?
We can do that,
mate.
Honestly, it's good to see what you're doing, man.
I really do appreciate it, man, and it's great to see what you're doing. I've listened to your episode on your story today.
Yeah.
And I'm feeling a deeper connection to you already.
Yeah, it's a bit,
you came up the other day as well, and I thought, that's a lovely man.
Oh, thanks.
That's a really
I'm
cool
not sure how many
achievement.
people will agree with that one, but yeah, honestly. Honestly, and it's to see somebody so local as well is absolutely brilliant, and the project that you've got going on, it's awesome, and I just thought to myself it's somebody I needed to connect with.
Mate, I think there's going to be a lot of collaboration with us and a lot of connection
hopefully.
we can do.
Yeah.
You've got a bit of a tribe at the minute then with Let's Be Frank. I'm glad you've got it in front of me because I keep looking down and wanting to say talk to Frank, but it's Let's Be
don't
Frank.
do drugs.
No. Rule one, don't do drugs. Now let's be frank.
Yeah, let's be frank. So we've literally been going since August. We did have a couple of projects going before that, but they kind of never got off the ground. So we kind of
To fruition.
Yeah, we kind of went quiet. We do a little bit of first aid stuff together and whatnot. So it's me and Jack. But he won't mind me sharing this. I think it was about June sort of time. We were having this discussion about what can we do, and he lost a friend through suicide. And it kind of gave us a massive rocket up the arse, and he went through the sort of stage where he was if I'd have done this group, if I'd have opened up to him before, would he still be here now? And he went through that sort of guilt sort of cycle and whatnot. And I just turned around to him and says, Jack, there's nothing you could have done more than you probably did. You didn't know. And we wanted to give the opportunity for people to have that conversation. And we were throwing a few ideas around. So we put a Facebook group together. And within the first sort of 24, 48 hours, that went from, we were expecting sort of 10, 15 people, 50 people.
Wow.
And it was just like, oh, shit the bed.
Got to do something now.
We need to do something. So we just started like putting a message out there and whatnot. And don't get me wrong, we've had little waves where we've done a bit, not done a bit, done a bit. So we've got, at the end of the day, both work full time, both got like other things going on. So we didn't want this to become sort of a labour. We wanted it to be something that we love to do. So we threw a few different ideas about where we'd think, is there a charity that we could potentially look at and that sort of thing. And we thought to ourselves, there's so many charities out there already that will one more actually make a difference. And we thought to ourselves, do you know what? That's not what we're going to be about. So it was kind of putting this group together, and we were throwing more ideas out there, and we went, do you know what? Let's start this podcast. And things come to sort of light and whatnot, and it's kind of grown in the last 3 weeks. Jack's been on the radio a few times up where he lives and whatnot, but the last probably couple of weeks, we've gone from like 120-ish members to, I think we're about 3 people off 200 now.
Mate.
And it's just all blokes in the group.
Yeah.
There's nobody else in the group. It's just all blokes. And it is just giving a safe haven. If there's an issue, do you know what? I've got somewhere where I can speak out. And then our podcast is that exact same thing.
So it wasn't necessarily going to be a podcast from the start.
No.
It was a group where people could just come.
Yeah.
And what were you going to add to this group then as content?
It wasn't so much about content.
No.
It's never been about us. It really hasn't. And it is literally somewhere for you to go, me to go, some other bloke to go. And I'm having a shit week this week.
Okay.
My boss has had a go at me, and it's not about the big problems. It's about the little problems that build up and build up and build up, and it was just that safe space where somebody can just go, do you know what? I just need somewhere to rant.
Wow. Okay. And then would you and Jack sort of
Sure,
try and help and give a little bit of guidance?
We've had and on the flip side to that, when I say the little problems, there's a couple of people that have opened up to us and they've gone, do you know what? I am literally struggling this week. I don't want to be here, and we've jumped on it. Obviously, me and Jack aren't professionals, but we've both lived experience, and it was like
that's enough for me, mate.
Yeah, you know, and you can have the people with all the degrees under the sun. It's not. It doesn't make them. They might have the doctorate and they might have the clinical understanding.
Yeah.
But are they actually experts?
Yeah.
That's a question in itself. You know.
I'd ponder that one and consider that one.
Yeah.
But I've definitely spoken to people before when I was in a rut, been prescribed to people, and they really didn't speak my language.
Yeah.
And that was because I did feel it was sort of being given in this clinical prescribed idea, and they were using the jargon, and I'd sort of heard of it before, and it was just this, it felt like a wall or a bit tactical how they were saying it. So as somebody that's felt deeply depressed before, in a deeply dark place, I know if you've been put in front of the wrong eyes or the wrong voice or the wrong person, it can then perpetuate that.
Of course. And on an episode that we've got, I think, I'm just trying to work out, we've got an episode actually coming out in, like, it should be about now.
Oh, nice, mate.
So episode 4, literally 6 o'clock tonight.
You're really propelling this journey, man. You're on the back of the bush, your mates on the radio, you've got episodes.
Yeah, we've
Come
got
on, dude.
number 4's out tonight.
Lads,
that's it. I'll tell you, man. So we've got Jack's coming out next week, Jack's story. And then after that, we've got a lad coming on called Reese. And the story that he shared with us was he'd sat down with a counsellor. His counsellor was 23, and she was sympathising, not empathising. And there's two massive differences there. I get it. Well, I know what you're trying to say to me, and I can empathise with that, but I can't sympathise because I've not lived it. And she turned around and she went, and bearing in mind this lad's like ex-military and whatnot, she went, I know exactly what you're going through. And that's what I mean. And you know, there's some fantastic counsellors out there, some fantastic doctors out there that can help. But when I say they're experts, when they're not experts in the field, that's exactly what I'm on about.
They're coming from a good place in their heart.
Yeah.
Like she wants to say, maybe even, I've been in pain before, or I've been there. Yeah. But not in the trenches in Afghan or anything like that. No. So I know exactly where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Is a very...
And it was a kind of a moment when, do you know what? I've got no connection here. I can't talk to you, and that closed him off even more.
A very daft statement.
Yeah, and that closed him off even more. She probably knew out of college, knew out of university and whatnot, and it's probably a really good learning curve for her. And as long as she's willing to learn from that, then brilliant. But I do another
podcast with a counsellor, David Eames, amazing guy from Derby. He's like later 60s now.
Okay.
Did a podcast on here, and I was like, mate, I want you to have a podcast because you're fantastic. So I help him out. We do it here with my other mate, Owen. Has Full Reptile, amazing guy. And David just says, with his job now, he's learned through his years and years and years, like 30 years in being a counsellor, he just does so much less.
Yeah.
Like when you come out of university and everything, you're trying to fill people with this thing that you've learned and this pedagogy and this piece of information, and suddenly as you just start to take a backseat and really listen and really take on board, and then every so often you just perpetrate their thinking with something that they may not have imagined before, and see them simmer with that and play with that. That's where I've seen the biggest breakthroughs and moments.
So with my kind of other background, so soft tissue therapy and things like that, when I first qualified, it was, I need to do this, I need to do this, and I need to do this. And do you know what now? What you've just said is what I do more of. My first session with anybody that comes to me, sit down, we'll have a conversation.
Yeah.
You'll tell me more in that 45 minutes, an hour, than I can do a lot of the time.
By just feeling through the different parts of the body. That's amazing.
Listening is so powerful. Listening, processing and understanding. And as long as you're willing to process and learn your own understanding from that, do you know what? That solves a lot of the problems in this world.
Mate. Now, I don't know what you just said because I didn't listen to it. But, mate, you and Jack,
Yeah.
isn't it?
Yeah.
You've got phenomenal like chemistry together.
Okay.
I do. I like it because you're playful.
Yeah.
You take the mick out of each
I
other.
will always do that.
But in a real loving way. It's not
Yeah.
banter that we've been exposed to, maybe, but you can tell you care from one another at the first point of call.
Yeah.
How did you meet? How did you connect?
So when it was actually Jack's ex-military as well.
Awesome.
He come out of the forces and he retrained to be a plasterer. Did a few other things and didn't like it, so he trained to be a sports massage therapist, and we were at an event together that I was supervising for a company called the Sports Massage Academy, who are probably the biggest company in the country to do that sort of thing. A chap called Alex Hall. That's another thing for another day, but that's one of the things that saved my life as well. But we were at an event together, and I was supervising this event, and he come in all cocky and all this, and when I first met him, and I'm open with this, I actually thought he was the biggest plum on this planet, and not a plum that was sweet and when you
mouldy plum,
a mouldy plum, and I'll tell him today, but there was just something a bit later on that made us connect. And
the same event?
No, it was a different event.
Down the line?
Yeah, it was somewhere down the line, and I reached out to him, and we did something together. And there was just something that second time that clicked.
What does he think to you're the biggest plum on the planet story? Does he agree with it? Was he in a weird state?
He will say he's a plum, but he probably won't. He'll probably give you a different tale. I think in episode it's really worth on Jack's episode next week, because he will go into a bit of that. And he can't. That bravado that he put across, that cockiness that he put across, was more of a wall.
I get you. That's a good self-awareness.
Yeah, was more of a wall, and he didn't want to let people. He was kind of for people to like me. I've got to be this type of person. Instead of being in like 100% himself, it was like 50% himself, 50% this plum. And do you know what? And once that barrier come down, and it does take him a little while to get to know people and trust people and whatnot. He is probably one of the most don't tell him I've said this. But
he's going to be listening now.
He's one of the nicest and most genuine lads that you could ever come across.
It comes across as well, though. Yeah. It really, you're both very authentic, and you both mean business, and you can feel that in the conversations you have. Yeah, completely. So he thought he was a plum. Then you connected.
No, not just a plum. The world's biggest plum.
The biggest, dirtiest, fluffy plum.
Yeah, that's the one.
But, okay, where does it get to the point of, let's podcast? I think we need to work together.
Yeah, so we did something over the first sort of lockdown, that first summer, where we called it MOF, and it was mindset, something future. It was.
Love an acronym.
Yeah, it was MOF. I mean, you were military.
Everything's an acronym.
Yeah.
Teachers and military. That's it.
No, and it was MOF, mindset. I can't remember the exact thing, but it was mindset, obesity, future. That was it, because we were going to work. I think I've just pulled my mic out.
It's not
just
the
jack. It's just the jack.
Yeah.
I'm breaking things. And
just come back to your mic a little.
Sorry, man. And it was. Yeah, it was MOF, and it worked really well, and our focus was kind of changing people's mindsets to understand obesity, because we wanted to look at weight management and things like that to get a better future. That obesity was kind of putting a lot of people off, so we just changed it from mindset, obesity, future to MOF, and that OB become like a shield type thing. And come the end of the summer, we were like, no, this ain't working. Let's just knock it on the head. We shut everything down. We can't, I do a lot of first aid work, rugby, I do pitch side cover, injury management, rehabilitation and all that. And then, like I say, we wanted to do something around mental health anyway. And this group come forward. And the podcast kind of just felt naturally, like I said earlier, we were looking at a few different things, and we both like the sound of our own voice,
Why wouldn't you?
Exactly.
It's
This silky. I've
creamy.
always been told I've got a voice for the radio, not a face for TV. Yeah, and it was kind of, we need to do something, and this is what we want to do. And we listened to a lot of different podcasts. We listened to stuff that was on the TV, and there's a lot of things out there where people just skirt around sort of stats, this, that, everything else. But we felt nobody was having that direct conversation about men's mental health, men suicide, how families feel. And that was it. And it all stemmed on the back of his mate that fingered. And it was just, we've both got the experiences. We've both lived through a fair bit. We've both got friends we've lost friends to suicide. We've friends that have suffered with mental health. And that was it. And it was just that first conversation. What stopped us was me for not having the right equipment. Cheers, lads.
Nah.
you know the ones that sorted it for me. And we put that first episode together, and it was done in the first take.
Yeah.
And then went, do you know what? Let's record the second one. And we did the second one on the same night.
Wow.
The following week, we done my story. And then we did episode 4, I think it was on like a Wednesday night. And that's going to be about myths. And that's the one that's out at 6 o'clock tonight. Then on the Sunday, we recorded Jack's.
Yeah.
And then the following week, we've recorded that episode 6.
How did you feel recording them? Did it feel alien to you?
The first one was quite awkward.
Yeah.
And you can tell
How
that.
so? What?
It was just, we didn't know, we wanted to get this message out there, and it was just, we obviously we're trying to have this conversation. We've got mics in front of us, got laptops in front of us. One lives in Grimsby, I live in Ripley, and it's like, Scunthorpe, sorry, he lives on the other side of the road, Scunthorpe.
Blasphemy.
Yeah. And it felt really awkward. For me, it did.
Yeah.
And then like I said, the second one we recorded pretty much straight after, felt a little bit better. And the third one come, and it was just like Jack was sitting there, just as you are now, and I was just sharing my story. And do you know what? That, for me, just felt euphoric.
Yeah.
That I was able to share my story. Don't get me wrong, I got a bit emotional from it, and I mean, I know you listened to it today, and there's some stuff on there that I've never shared with my family, especially the story when I was a kid. A lot of my family friends didn't know I was disabled for the best part of 2.5 years. My looking at that rope hanging from my bed at 8 years old. I've never shared that before. I don't think my family understand the extent that I was through that stage. They don't understand that second time. The third time when I come out of the army for the second time. And it was kind of just getting a lot off my chest. It just felt something really magical.
Cathartic.
Yeah.
Yeah, release.
And yeah, that's pretty much.
And was that the moment in the podcast where you're like, well, we've got to do this?
Yeah, and for me, it was like...
Powering what I've just been through.
Yeah.
Somebody else must feel this, and they're going to get that release in just sharing their story.
And that was it. And that was, for me, that was it. It was just...
Beautiful moment.
Yeah.
I'd like to reach into that bit of story. I know I've listened to it today, but I would love to really get a bit of the breakdown of who you are, where mental health has been existing in your life, and where you sort of attest and accredit that breakdown to.
Okay, so I mean, we can go right the way back to.
Let's go far back.
Okay, so
what were you like as a kid?
I was in the Boys Brigade. I don't know if people are...
Is that like the clubs and stuff? What's the Boys Brigade?
So the Boys Brigade, it's a Christian organisation with a goal of basically advancing young boys into adulthood,
like rites of passage stuff.
So, but it was, so there was a lot of drill nights in their camp, and
it is like the Scouts. Then
it's better than the Scouts. It was a precursor to the Scouts.
Okay,
so the Scouts.
Have I said something blasphemous there?
There, the Scouts come from the Boys Brigade.
Okay. So the Boys Brigade is a little bit more hardcore.
Yeah. It was the OGs.
Nice.
And loads of good memories around that, loads of different things, friends through that and stuff. But at that young age, there was about 8, and I'm not going to go into names. I'm not going to name and shame because I've closed that on my life now, and I've dealt with that, and that doesn't need to be anymore. But there was a lot of stuff that happened to me then that shouldn't happen to any kid.
Wow, okay, I get where you're at, yeah.
That shouldn't happen.
Oh, mate, that's made me quite emotional already.
Okay, and from that, I remember it clearly. I had a dressing gown, and for some reason I followed football. Not a football fan now. Ice hockey is the way forward.
I've been and seen a few games.
Season ticket holder
For the Panthers. Wicked, man.
I play a little bit as well.
Well, mate, the guy I do... Sorry to...
no.
But the guy I do the podcast for, his business partner, her dad set up the Panthers.
Okay.
So,
wow.
Really interesting.
Oh.
I'll put you in touch.
Oh, I'd love to. Absolutely love to. So from there, I had a dressing gown, and I shared a room with my brother, and it was a double bed, bunk bed, not a double bed, bunk bed, and at that age, obviously I don't know anything. And for some reason, I put this rope, the draw cord from that dressing gown, around the top notch of the thingy, and I tied a loop in it, and I looked at it for about half hour, and I just thought to myself, do you know what? That'd be far easier and better for myself to do that.
Can I say this? Wow, what's jump into the story? Would you say, because that was around 8?
Yeah.
Would you say your childhood in the boys' brigade, but at home and school, and it was fairly like archetypal then, normal childhood until this all started happening? And I won't get you to go into the depths of anything.
So even that, and after that, was totally normal.
So your life was it was a quote unquote...
So my mum, I'm not going to share a story of my mum because that isn't my place to share. But my mum was never in the best place with relationships and things like that. So my mum has our biggest heart of gold going. She's been married, she's been divorced, she's been married, she's been divorced, she's had boyfriends, and whatnot. She's the sort of woman that, if these marriages have had kids, and these kids have gone, do you know what? I don't want to stay because it's not nice. She's took them on. Even when she's had to work 3-4 jobs. I remember we were going to be homeless at one point, and my auntie and uncle put us up in their house. So there was my 3 older brothers. My oldest sister moved out, my little sister, and myself. My mum, my uncle, and his wife, who's no longer here. We lost her 2009 to leukemia. That's one of the most phenomenal women I've ever known. Unfortunately, no longer here. But my uncle as well, their son, and then my uncle, my other uncle, and my auntie, and their 3 kids moved back from South Africa. And we all lived in a 3-bed house for I think it was for the best part of a year and a half, 2 years. That was the kind, but everything there was so happy. It was loving. It was caring. We moved into a masonette. There was loving and caring and everything like that. So my whole childhood, I've been blessed. My mum's put me, I went to a comprehensive school. I went sailing. I went skiing. I went climbing, things that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
My mum made it happen.
Wow.
And that's where I'm trying to get with all of that.
Wow.
My mum made it happen.
So she's a phenomenal lady.
Oh, yeah.
Phenomenal heart of gold lady. Yeah. There's just horrible devils in the world, unfortunately, that act in such ways. And I'll tread completely lightly around that, and I'm not going to go into the depth of it. Was it continuous for a while, or did
it happened from then on and off for a couple of years? I remember just starting high school, similar sort of things going on. Never spoke out about it. Never felt that I had the right to speak out about it. I know now that it's never going to happen to anybody again. I know that now, and believe me, if the person was, I would say something, but I know it's not. But that kid, I would just hold his hand now and go, do you know what? It's fine.
Okay.
Where I am now in my
Yeah.
life, you're doing well.
You're going to get through this.
You're going to get through it.
Good man. So, yeah, you've been mistreated.
Yeah.
Really uncomfortable existence. Yeah. You've got to this 8-year-old self.
Yeah.
You're looking at
A rope, yeah.
And you're saying that's an easier way than going through.
But bearing in mind, at 8 years old,
yeah.
Why do I think to myself that is the better way?
Whereas life's supposed to be very innocent, filled with play, discovery and curiosity.
And
really
it was.
Yeah.
Apart from that moment in my life.
I get you. Yeah. So you managed to live on and get through that moment and, you know, at such a young age to feel that to that depth, that's a real sort of existential crisis already in such an early stage of life, but you've got through it. How do mental health patterns start to exist and to showcase themselves going on into life?
Yeah, so in my younger sort of, I'll go from sort of year 7. I don't remember much. I've had my first kiss and all that sort of stuff. Back of the field. I won't mention names because I don't think that trauma needs to be relived.
What a great kiss then.
I don't know if it was for her, but for me.
Enough. Yeah. I definitely did too much tongue when I was at that age.
Yeah, did I do enough? Didn't I do enough?
Seen it in the films.
Yeah, that's it.
It's about right.
Good. A little bit more for a good measure and all that sort of stuff. Don't spit your drink out. But yeah, no, it was that sort of year 7, 11 to 12. Apart from that other thing that was going on, high school was okay. Year 8. A little bit of bullying went on, other kids, me and whatnot. I was a little bit angry, nothing serious and stuff. Year 9 is when it got interesting. I remember being quite nerdy, a bit, into my computers and all that sort of thing. And I got into a little bit of trouble. There was an IT teacher I didn't like, and I was sat in an IT room, and somehow I managed to log on to the school's intranet network and stuff like that. And there was a teacher that nearly got into trouble because there was a load of porn that shouldn't have been on his.
Oh wow! Okay, so you hacked in.
Did I hack in? Let's just put it like this: when they traced everything back, it took them a good 2 months to find out who was in that room and who signed it, what room it come from, and everything. And I got suspended for a little bit for that.
Wow. Okay.
There was another time that when I was bullied, I left school for a bit. My mum marched me up to the school and says, "Look, there's his homework, there's his this, sort him out now. It's your responsibility in the day," type thing.
Do you know how you moved to sort of tech and you were very techie? With being...
I'm not anymore. I'm not anymore.
in that moment at school when you had a fascination, a passion, do you feel you were fixated on something out of sort of a coping mechanism to a degree? And that was a bit of a crux for you.
Okay, so where I'm going to go now might explain some of that. So sort of year 9, early year 10, I was quite heavily bullied at school. I remember going on a sailing trip and one of the lads, well, a couple of them, I got pinned down, my eyebrow got shaved off, and that was just one of the smaller stories there. I was followed home, I was beaten up from school and stuff one day, and now my brother, who suffers with his own mental illness and stuff now, was ex-force. Well, we went into phase 1 in the army and stuff, come out, got him with the wrong crowd, and he was. He was, let's put it so, he's gone inside a few times and he's done more than enough time for himself. He come out. I've got stories of my brother that will just make you will chuckle and curdle at the same time. But he had I remember his pine truncheon he had. It was about this long, that sort of wideness, and he went, "Ryan, they won't bully you after this." He says, "Next time they do it, take this to the knees."
Oh, really?
And I put it in my bag. And
How old were you again? Year 10?
I'd been year 10.
Wow.
And I just took it to the three of them. I took it to the knees, and then from that point on, I wasn't bullied again.
Yeah.
I don't condone that, by the way.
I know what you're saying, though.
I don't condone that.
Happened to me. I was backed into corners at school, and my granddad actually, who was ex-military, been in the army, of course, is of that era where you all had to. But he just told me, get this as hard as you can and plonk it on the nose. And I remember the sheer amount of bullying that I put up to and the pain that I've been through for that moment, and when it all came out onto this one kid. But it did never happen again, and you don't want that to get to the end crescendo for people. No. But unfortunately, there is something within that
there is, and this is the kind of message that me and Jack are trying to portray now. And we were speaking about it there beforehand. It was about having the art of conversation. You know, people having the ability to say what they feel without the fear of being judged, to get it off their chest. Would that have stopped that?
I believe so.
Would that have stopped that? Would people want to put a rope around the loft and a loft hatch and things like that? Would they want to do that if they had the ability to create that conversation, knowing where to start?
That they felt that there was a vessel or a chamber that you could come to and say your piece, share your piece, and connect and have a community around it,
and not to be judged, by it either. It's having
of
that,
any age that's going to be
absolutely massive, and that's one of the reasons I think what you're doing here,
thank you,
is absolutely remarkable. You've got kids in school; they're going to be troubled kids. They come here, you're looking at them as kids.
Take away the troubled, and then they're just kids. I love that.
Yeah, I
thought that was beautiful. I'm going to remember that.
In school, that's what they would be classed as, troubled kids. Yeah, here they're just kids, and let them be kids. You know, are they going to have arguments between each other? Do you know what? They're kids.
Yeah.
How else are they going to learn who they are?
But
what they need to know is having the person around them to say, do you know what? You've both got really valid points. Let's talk this through. And by the end of it, let's hug it out.
Well, we're in a very lucky state here. I get to be a referee, but I've got tangible numbers.
Yeah.
I've got people where there's a session on now as we're talking on that bus, and there's probably 12 kids on there.
Fantastic.
But if there's 3 of them or 4 where they're all having a disagreement, I bring them on this bus and I can play referee a bit and let's all have it out. Yeah. And I do feel for teachers, and my partner's a teacher.
Do you know what? I'm not saying teachers do a bad job.
Insurmountable amounts of classroom, and I just think there needs to be more spaces, alternative measures, more schools, so you can have smaller numbers and more teachers in classrooms.
And it is an age-old thing. It really is. It comes down to, does everybody learn the same?
No.
Does everybody process the same? Does everybody understand the same? Would you call a goldfish stupid for not climbing a tree?
Yeah.
Would you say to a monkey, you stupid for not swimming to the bottom of the ocean? No, you wouldn't.
Yeah,
they both do.
Everyone's designed differently, and we've got them all going through the same hurdles for some reason.
Yeah. And I said to you earlier, there's a box, there's different shapes in. You've got one box. Well, one shape is a square. That's what my wife thinks what I should be. One, a triangle, what my boss thinks I should be. A pentagon, what my mates think I should be, and then an octagon, what society thinks I've been.
Yeah.
I'm underneath a totally different shape. I've got everything here. We're all different. We're not all going to fit in the same box. Be who you are.
Yeah, completely agree with that, man. So that's beautiful. And you're going through this turbulence and this struggle, and you're formulating who you are.
Yeah.
Where do you feel you get to a crescendo in the timeline of maybe an existential crisis or deep desperation of finding yourself and reaching a bit of a pivotal moment in the journey?
There's 3 moments in kind of my life where things have took a different direction. I left school at 16. My first job was in a sandwich factory. I wanted to go in the army. Life didn't plan out over the next couple of years as it should have been. 2004, there was a moment there that kind of sent me off track. 2006, I started cutting my wrists. Not to the point where I wanted to kill myself, but I just wanted the pain to be out. my mum challenged me. Why are you wearing long tops? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing that? And I broke down. There was other things that happened between that period that shouldn't have kind of part of my own doing and whatnot, which I've learned from that now and moved forward from that now. There was drugs involved, there was all that. And my mum kind of challenged me. I mean, I was going home with a girl every other night, and a weekend I'd take 3 girls. My mum challenged me. She went, something needs to change. And that kind of changed there. That projected me forward. 2009, got with my now wife. Moved forward, we moved forward to 2012. I was in a pretty serious car accident where it took 2 fire crews to get me out of the car.
Wow.
And I couldn't really, I used to run marathons, ultra marathons and things like that, and I didn't know if I was going to be able to do any of that sort of stuff again. 2014, I got married, and I said to my wife, I want to go back in the army. The amount of hoops I had to jump through, because I had some closure from that sort of 2002 era, 2004. I had some closure to do there, and that was going to be my closure. And things didn't go too well. And I got discharged. And I'll say it on my own podcast. 2016, between January and March, I was bullied in the forces, going through training. There was a lot of stuff went on, paperwork went missing, and started having blackouts, started having panic attacks. I lost 40% of muscle in my left leg due to a misdiagnosis and stuff like that, so they discharged me unfit for army service. Come out, civilian physio went, you should never have been on crutches, for one. What they said you've not got. We were going to send you away for x-rays. My leg's never been the same since, and it won't be the same ever again. But in that sort of 2016, 2018, I was registered disabled. I was having blackouts. My mind was shut down. I went for 3 or 4 weeks where I couldn't talk properly. I couldn't walk 100 yards. On a day I could walk. I'd take the dog for a walk, wait to come round, not knowing where I am. Was that going to be the rest of my life? And I got to the point where my wife had to put me in the bath. Sometimes she had to help me out of bed. I didn't want to get out of bed. And I was to the point where I was just in a really dark place, and this has probably been the darkest. No, in fact, I won't say the darkest, because the dark is when I don't want to get out of bed. I don't want to do anything. I wouldn't have had the energy to do that. But I didn't want to live my life going forward through that. And my wife, as much as she's a pain in the backside, saved my life. She helped me get the help that I needed. She helped me get on the right track. That's where the Sports Massage Academy come in. I wanted to know how my body worked, and if there was anything, not like I could do, but can I learn more about my body and educate myself about my body? My doctor, she got me in contact with the doctor from Ivy Grove.
Yeah.
Won't mention his name, but he sat me down and he got me on the right track. He helped me get the help that I needed. He would put 2 or 3 sessions together, cancel appointments and move stuff around so I could sit down and have 3. And this went on for a couple of months where he would do that. And he got me on the help that I needed. Got my treatment ready, started for my leg and stuff, and that's where I found out I shouldn't have never been on crutches. Some of the treatment that I had through the army should never have happened. It should have been a totally different process. And I would say 2018 was the moment where my life, I won't say better, but I got clarity. I could process. I could learn. And that was the process from then till now.
Wow.
Has been a journey of discovery.
As it always is, forever developing, forever changing.
Yeah.
Beautiful, man. So I'm going to dive back in then to some of those moments.
Yeah.
The army.
Yeah.
What made you go towards the army? And then we'll get to the clarity moment.
Okay.
Because there felt like a jump, but a lot of meat in all these parts, and let's
There
go to
was
those segments,
so much meat. So
because I want to know about sort of the
Yeah.
military and how you felt mistreated, and
okay.
did you get compensation as well for that? I hope you did.
If I say no,
Yeah.
we'll leave it there.
Okay. We'll leave it there.
'Cause there's nothing else to say.
Fair play.
No.
Yeah.
But the simple answer is no. Did I get the help that I needed? No. Did I get treated right? No.
Wow.
Did I get any financial support? No.
Ouch. Okay.
Did I get kind of, there's out the gate, see you later?
It'll make
Yes.
me just as annoyed as you,
Yeah.
so we won't go there.
No,
but
I'm
fair.
not annoyed. I'm not annoyed.
I am.
I'm not annoyed by it, because that's kind of, I've processed that, I've dealt with that,
Fair
I've
play.
moved on from that. And
Acceptance.
acceptance, and that's an important part of everything that I go through. For things that there's only one stage, and this sounds a bit backwards now. That first time I went in the army to when I come out, I can't accept that, and that's one of the reasons I won't talk about that sort of time frame there. I lost a friend, and that's as far as I'm going to go.
Okay.
I went back in the army the second time to put closure on that time there.
I get you.
I wanted to go and do something that I was told I couldn't do at that time. That I wasn't mentally able to do at that time. To say I could do it. Yeah. And I went back in the army the second time to put closure on that moment.
Yeah.
To be able to do my career, to do what I want, whether it was 4 years, 12 years, 24 years, whatever it was, it would give me closure. Now, going in the army the second time, everything started out really well. And then I was on a run. It was a mile and a half run. And bearing in mind, I could run a tidy mile and a half in about 8 minutes flat. So I weren't slow. I could run a 5K in just over 17 and a half minutes.
Wow.
I wasn't.
It's a good pace.
I wasn't slow. I'd run ultra marathons, 24-hour races, things like that.
Fair play.
12-hour races. Well, and I wasn't too shabby. But I was on this run, and I just felt all I could describe was a screwdriver getting put into the ball of my foot and a bolt of lightning going straight up through my leg. And I went to the med centre over it, and they just turned around and they went, "That's a stress fracture." No scans, no x-rays, nothing to clarify that. Everything you've told me is a symptom of a stress fracture. Okay, I'm not denying that, but how can you 100% say that if you're not doing that? So I got things a couple of, they give me a week and whatnot to see if things improve. They don't. So they went, okay, we've got no choice but to put you into Sword Company, which is basically where they put recruits that have got injuries that need rehabilitation to go down and sort themselves out. So I get down there.
Rehabilitate.
Yeah. So bearing in mind, I've still had no x-rays, no scans, no nothing. So they're still under the impression that this is a stress fracture. So crutches and whatnot. I get down to Sword Company, Gold Platoon, I think it was, top of my head. Don't quote me on that one. But anyway, yes, we've got you here. Up the stairs you go. 3 flights of stairs. Crutches.
Mate.
Yeah, work it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that time there, pardon my French, but I was treated like a cunt.
Really?
I don't use that word often, but I was treated like a cunt.
Wow.
There was times where they and it was block punishments, but I remember it clearly, and I'll share this story in my own sort of podcast, the one that you listened to today, where they went right. They took us up to dinner late, and this was, bearing in mind, this was meant to be a Christmas sort of dinner and things like that. They got us back down to platoon lounge a bit later on. Made us do all donkey work, picking up cigarette butts and things like that, not just from sweeping the paths that had no leaves on and things like that. You do the maths.
Yeah.
And they got us inside and they went, right, in your grip bags, so your big hold all bags, we want all your kit. Okay, don't worry about your sort of respirators and things like that, but your shirts. And bear in mind, we've got a full-on inspection the day after. And yeah, don't get me wrong, if you've done something wrong, you need that sort of punishment in the army. It's just part of the parcel. And went up, filled the grip bags, went down to the platoon lines, and they give us 2 minutes to do all this. Bearing in mind, I've got to go up flights of stairs, and I weren't the only one. Come down the flight of stairs. I've got to go to my cage locker to get my bags and everything out, get to my own kit locker to put everything in, and get back downstairs in 2 minutes. Right? I get down there, and they went, okay, we're going to be a while, sit on your bags. So everything, fingers up. And they come out and went, right, we've been reports of a couple of bits of kit being missing. Can you pull out this shirt? And we're all looking at each other. Nobody's reported anything. Just pull it out, pull another shirt out. Okay, that's fine. That's all we needed to check. Do the maths. It was just a dickhead move.
Yeah, I get you.
Okay, this is like, I think it was about 8, half 8 at night. You've got till 10 o'clock to get your lockers squared away. So it's full ironing and whatnot. Anyway, 10 o'clock comes, right, everybody in bed, getting your pits, and I won't want to be beat. I went, all right, no worries. I went, lads, leave your lockers open tonight. I'm going to sort them. They went, what are you on about? You're going to sort them? Spent literally from 10 o'clock till about 6 in the morning making sure everybody's lockers were up to point because I weren't going to be beat.
Really?
And I did it. And then the following morning, I spoke out. And from that moment, you don't speak out, but that was wrong. What they did that night was wrong. And I went to the company commander about it.
How did that go?
Company commander was fine, but when it come down the chain...
Oh, really?
Yeah.
But why were you being treated in this way? What?
Because it was just a power trip.
You hadn't done anything wrong.
No. They just wanted to let that they were boss.
Yeah.
And
okay.
when people come down... When they come down to, especially in training, they get known as, it's called the sick, lame and lazy platoon. You either come in because you're sick, you've got an injury, as in you're lame, or you're lazy.
I get you.
Yeah, so it was kind of, don't forget we're in charge here type thing.
So you're
and that's what,
like a dog,
yeah,
you're treated with this disrespect, and they're just constantly putting you in your place.
Yeah. So it was kind of, from that point on, we come back after Christmas. And the sergeant at the time turned around and he went, Smith, I thought you was all right. And from that point on, I was treated like a dick. And about 3 weeks after, so January, I come home for a couple of days. Because the padre, I spoke to the padre, and the padre, I'm going to sort this. I want to give you some respite. And I'll come home for a couple of days. Went back, and I was hounded that much. I was moved to about 2 different other rooms. Oh, Smith, you're in this room this week. Get your week kit. A couple of days later, oh no, you're back in this room. You're back, and it was just to dick me about.
Right.
And then I had my first panic attack. Just things just built up, and my heart, everything just went dark. And I just next minute I've got sat up, and 2 lads next to me. Soon sergeant comes in. He went, oh, you need to go to the med bay, right, over a panic attack, which is fine, right. 2 hours after having this panic attack, I had a resting heart rate of 160 beats. And then I got back down to the platoon lines, and the platoon sergeant just turned around and he went, oh, that seems a bit too sus. How can you fake a heart rate of 160 beats a minute 2 hours after a panic attack? And it was a couple of days after I had another one. And then I got put up in the med bay. Lo and behold, all my paperwork went missing. Oh, we don't know where you are. We don't know what's happening. I was in the med bay for, I think it was the best part of 2 weeks.
So it's all just, it's mind games then,
Yeah.
in essence.
And that's all it was. It was just to dig me about.
And this is sort of their approach for hardening you, do you think?
No. Don't get me wrong. There's a couple of people. It's not everybody.
Yeah.
It was just these couple of people. And it was because I shined light on a shit situation.
I get you.
On a shit situation. So
Job's worth.
Yeah. I got put back in front of the company commander, and she went, Smith, what's your opinion on things? So I told her, and she went, what we've decided is we're going to what we class as unfit for army service. So I don't come out with any pay or anything like that because I'm still in training and things like that. Don't come out with anything like that. Went to my own doctor, and he says, when I come out, I was waking up and things like that. And he says, it looks like you've got a case of PTSD as well. from all of this that's happened, and that's just a pill to swallow in itself. When I brought that up with the army, they were like, "No, that's not right. That's not right."
Wow. Absolute total disregard in anything going on in the mentality, in the mindset. I get you.
So for me, is the whole army like that? Not really. You got some really good people in the army. Has the army got a long way to go in itself still? 100%.
Okay. What appealed for you going into the army? What was...
First time, it was, I seen an advert at school.
Yeah.
And I wanted something to do with my life. I didn't really leave a school with, I won't say amazing qualifications. They weren't bad, but they weren't like university, and I had no interest in university anyway. But the army is what I wanted to do from sort of 15, 16 and whatnot, and being in the boys' brigade, having that sort of sense of discipline, it sort of was a natural sort of progression for me. And like I say, it was never that closure that I got from that first time because of stuff that happened. You know, I got into drink and a lot of other things as well. When I got married, I said to the wife, "I want to go and do this." She was like, "Yes, go and do it. If that's what you want to do, closure, go and do it." And that's what it was for me. I wanted that closure in my life from that first time round. And my wife was, you know, she is golden, as much as it pains me to say. She's all right. No, she's brilliant. She's been there for me so much. But what my family couldn't get round is I'd been literally married, not even 12 months. I think it was about 3-4 months. So that's when I said to her, I want to go back in the army. And the sort of Christmas time come, and I got back in. And they went, "Right, you're in November next year." And Rachel was like, "Yeah, go for it. If that's what you want to do, go for it. I'm not going to stop you from doing something that you want to do." And all through us being together, she's always been like that. So I've wanted to go out and work in the French Alps and things like that. She's gone, "Go and do it." I've gone...
really supportive human.
You know, and she's not come with me to French Alps, and people can't... Do you trust him? Why wouldn't I trust him? Do you know what I mean? It's and we've got that open communication. We can talk about things. If there's an issue, she'll open up. If I've got that issue, I'll open up and whatnot. But there was just something about going in the army that second time that I wanted closure. Now, this is the scary thing. That first time, I don't think I'll ever get closure on because I couldn't close it down the second time.
Okay.
And that's what it was about. But that second time, I totally accept, and I've closed that off part of my life. So it's kind of a bit backwards, really. I went in the second time to close the first time, but because that second has happened, do you know what? That's fine.
You managed to close off some door anyway.
Yeah.
It's really interesting, this tale. So basically, throughout your life, you've been let down in a lot of circumstances, especially where there's been authority over you too. Like that young boy at 8, you're in the boys' brigade, you're being let down by an authoritative figure.
Let me just clarify something there.
Yeah.
It was nobody in the boys' brigade.
Oh, was it? Okay.
No, I just want to clarify something there.
But it happened in the time.
In that time frame, but it was nobody.
No one there.
Nobody in that.
Brilliant.
So
Okay. But you're being let down, but an older person, somebody in an authoritative position, but nobody in that
particular organisation.
Yes. And then at school, you know, you're supposed to be protected by people, and you're being bullied and let down. And then you go into this job where you think it's all about respect and discipline, and then you're being let down again because you're getting bullied. So it's all surmounting, really, to this sort of mentality. People are against me. The world's against me, in essence. Did it come to a big breakdown, pivotal moment then when you get to this timeline? Or did something crack inside?
It wasn't just that. For me, I like being in control of me.
Yeah.
And when I come out of the army that second time, I had no control.
Right.
When I had that car crash, I had no control.
Was that a self-sabotage moment, or was that your mind had just blanked out and when you had the car crash?
No, so the car crash was I was actually coming back from a friend's house that I've helped start to convert the loft, and I was driving down the road, and there's a young lad about 18 just passed his test in a little silver Punto. I was coming down the road here, junction here, and he's turned down the exit side of this junction at 50 mile an hour, right? And I'm going 30, so it's an impact of 80 mile an hour. And he spun me round that much, it looks like I'm coming out of this road, and it looks like he's driving on, so it looks like I'm at fault. But when they look at the sort of forensics of stuff, they realise he's at fault. And at that point then, it was kind of, I won't say that was a low point, but I'd lost my job over that and things like that because I couldn't do my job. I was working down in Birmingham for a dry cleaning company, and they were like, no, we're not having this. We'll, you know, so I lost my job, so I ended up taking them to small claims and things like that. But that was kind of that in my head. That I would say that I was more at that point. I was more angry and mad rather than depressed. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
Because of everything that was going on.
With
I was just fed up. I was just fed up. You know, there's a massive difference between just fed up with day-to-day things. You know, I knew I was going to be able to walk again and do all them things. But when I come out the army that second time, I literally had no control. I would get in the car to go to my mother-in-law's to go and get my hair cut because it was a routine that I had with my wife's auntie and stuff. They would cut my hair. And we'd start driving over, and I would literally turn around to my wife, who was driving because I just couldn't drive. I would say, where are we going? And it wasn't 10 minutes before that she'd turn around and we were going to get your hair cut. 10 minutes, that was it. We were junction 28. Where are we going? We're going to get your hair cut. Well, okay, but where are we going? We're going to my mum's, you know that, I've just told you. And it was moments like that, frustration. I would talk, and my wife would take the piss a little bit. Because I would stutter. It would take me sort of 10, 15 seconds just to get 2 or 3 words out, or I'd just totally forget what I'm saying. But she called me Granville. Open all hours. So she called me Granville.
Go on, Granville.
So there was a little bit of sense of humour there, and she
which
was
integral, really.
which was what I needed.
Yeah.
And my wife has always although she's from Mansfield, I'm from Tamworth. I've known my wife about 32, 33 years now. We've been together since 2009. That's another story for another day. But through sort of 2009 to even now, she's been a constant. She's been that sort of rock that, and she has dealt with a lot of shit from me. But there's been times where I thought, am I good enough? Especially this later time when I thought, am I going to be able to be enough? Am I? And that's kind of when I come out of the army the second time. She was the one that said, "Go and do it." I'm letting her down. I've not wanting to get out of bed. She's getting me out of bed. I'm falling down the stairs. She's the one picking me up. I'm needing to go to this appointment to get my brain scanned. She's the one that's done it. I need to go to the physio appointment. She's the one that's doing it. Bearing in mind, she's still working full time. She's dealing with her own shit as well as dealing with me. And as much, I want to say it pains me to say it. If it wasn't for that and the support that she gave me and keeping me up, not off that rock, but just holding me there, I wouldn't be here.
How did she stay so consistent and like that buoy in the water to sort of show you that you can get through this? I don't want
her to hear this, but she's a remarkable woman.
Really?
She's just a phenomenal woman, and she's a private woman, and that's why I won't go too much. I'm very outspoken, and we kind of that two opposites and opposites attract and all that.
But she kept the faith in you and knew that you could get through
every
this.
time. Well, like when I wanted to go to the French Alps, if that's what you want to do, go and do it.
Yeah, just.
I want to retrain. Okay,
yeah.
Go and do it. What do you want to do? Go and do it.
And I suppose what some people get is they need respite.
Yeah.
They'll come up with ideas and then it'll be knocked down.
Yeah.
So then that would
and that
surmount on them and push them
yeah,
down.
Yeah.
Whereas you've been allowed to come up with an idea of I need to do this, and she supported it and said, you've got to go do it then.
Yeah.
And not made you feel any guilt or shame behind
absolutely
it.
not. Absolutely not. And that's that's, I think,
Great piece of advice as a partner
Yeah.
for people.
you know, there has got to be a balance of give and take on both sides, and this goes for not just men but women as well. The other side, you've got to be willing to adjust, be willing to adapt, to move forward with anything. You know, if I cock up, okay, why did you cock up? What can we do so you don't cock up again? And can we support that?
Wow. So basically you've got this rock
Yeah,
who's supporting you
Yeah.
and being the strength throughout it, and then you're having this moment of realization of, I need to be there for her.
Yeah.
I need to get through this so she gets the best out of
Yeah.
life too. What happens in the trajectory then? What happens to the Ryan's next steps?
so when I come up with an idea, she will roll her eyes. She will roll her eyeballs at it. It's like when I said I want to start this podcast, I want to do this. You could tell it was kind of, right.
Ryan.
Yeah, but it was, I know she'll go, okay, let's go and do it. And having, whether that is Rachel, whether that has been my mum, whether that is Jack,
Yeah.
whether that is my cousin Chris, who's another really good close friend,
These
best
are sort of
mate.
your mentors and pillars in your
Yeah,
life.
yeah. Alex Hall from the Sports Massage Academy, the Sports Therapy Association, Ilkeston Rugby Club, the Boys Brigade, whatever it is in my life, there's always been somebody there when there's been something dark to pull me up, to help me to that next step, to that realisation that at any point in my life, I know when I was young I didn't, but now I do. Having the ability to talk, having the ability to be open, share my story in the hope if it helps one person feel better, know that it's okay. They're not stupid for the way they feel. They're not backwards for the way they feel. They're not
Wrong.
They're not wrong. Having the ability, whether that's coming to somebody like you, whether that's coming to my and Jack's Facebook group, and it's not, sorry, it's not our Facebook group, it's not mine and Jack, it's men's Facebook group. It is for all men. Don't care your background, it's for all men. To have that space, to be picked up, and to know that there is somewhere to talk or somebody to talk to. And sometimes that's all it is.
Yeah. An open space.
For me to sit down, shut up, and listen to what they've got to say.
A container.
Yeah.
Completely agree. So that was it. You realised you've got to work on up.
Yeah.
And then you've told your partner about all these ideas in which how you want to help men. And is this sort of it then? This is your path now. You want to do podcasts. You want to get into education spaces and facilities. You want to hold groups where men... Why also just men? What's your thinking of the differentiation of men and women in mental health?
So 2000 and I don't know if you know this stat, and this cuts me up. 2021, there was 80 men committed suicide across Derbyshire alone. That's one every 4.6 days. 70, depending on what stats you look at, it's not different. It's not too far apart, but you can either go 77% or 79% of all men across the globe. All suicides, I'll rephrase that, 77 or 79, depending on your stats, are men. What more do I need?
Yeah.
What more do I need?
And also we're men too, so it would feel probably odd for us to try and talk about mental health on the whole, as we do process things very differently. and there are anomalies and there are different ways, but
yeah.
we've got this masculine energy and feminine energy, but predominantly we're in touch and tune with the masculine side, and we process things differently. So I do think there needs to be a differentiation.
You need. It's like there's a reason you have a right-handed wheeled car when you drive on the left-hand side.
Yeah.
If you go to another country, there is a reason you have a left-hand car on their side of the road, because it's fit for that purpose. For me to try and speak about women's mental health or men's mental health, it's the exact same reason. I'm not a left-handed wheel for a right-handed road. Do you know?
Yeah. I completely hear you. Yeah, it's a good analogy. It's a good analogy.
It's for me to be able to see clearly on that road, my path, I've got to be able to experience or have a better understanding on that.
And women do seem to, evolve and be more susceptible to having containers and spaces to express their ideas and their thoughts and their darkest secrets.
And I'm glad you've said that. I'm glad you've said that. And again, I don't know if this is a macho thing. I don't know if it's a bloke thing.
Yeah.
But you look on our shares, so Facebook, social media, Twitter, you look at anything like that, it is predominantly women that are sharing my stuff. Okay? Because they're more in touch with that communication side. But you look at the stats on our podcast, it's typically men between 26 and 44 males that are listening to the podcast.
So they kind of feel they want to be a bit more hidden around how they're accessing it, whereas the women are very open and willing to say, look, here it is. Yeah, mate, I get... and this isn't an exaggeration because of the stuff we do, but so many women messaging on our group chat now or on our social medias, the Instagram, and DMing us, that's the word I was looking for, that are saying, oh, my husband's going through this, even my dad's going through this, can you help in this way? And I never get men really reaching out unless they're at the bare bones, but the women that are watching them on the decline, they seem to have this need to, I can get through this, I can just do it on my own, I don't need any of that nonsense, I don't like the spiritual mumbo jumbo or whatever it is. It's kind of this pressure of feeling I need to be able to handle this because I'm a man, and I think there's such an old, outdated belief system. And yes, we think differently, and our brain probably through evolution looks at the world differently, but you don't have to have all this baggage to hold on to on your own.
And I kind of used an analogy on, I think it was either the first or second episode that me and Jack did, where you go through life, and if you were, I would say up until mid-80s when I was born, that's when things started to change and stuff. People started coming in more contact with their emotions. And this is where I think there's been a massive sort of leap from there to here. And from like I'll say the Second World War onwards, it was predates that. If I went in a race and I got first place, second place, third place, but I got fourth, I'd get called a dickhead. I need to win first. And I remember doing that in cross country. My mum saying, "Why didn't you do better? Why aren't you more like your brothers?" and things like that, and that expectation and whatnot. But if I run a race, I would get a medal for 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, just for participating. But what does that make me achieve? That conversation I got first, second, and this is where I think it's important for us to understand, okay, I didn't get third, I didn't get fourth, I got fourth, I got fifth, but having the conversation for me to learn to be able to do third, second, first, I think that's what we've lost. So what we need to kind of do now is take lessons from the past, become more resilient. We do need that resilience back, but we need to understand our feelings now to be able to move forward. And I think we're stuck in a transition somewhere where kids of today, I don't know what generation they call them today, where they're all getting out in the workforce.
You're boomer.
Okay, where they'll quite happily say, that's not right, that's not right, that's not
Yeah,
right.
I think it's Gen Z, isn't it?
Something
Gen
something
X.
like that. And they'll go, well, why didn't I get that job? Well, did you do the right things to get that job?
Yeah.
And having that conversation to do it, to the generations before, where you need to be a man, you can't talk about them. There needs to be a happy balance between them both.
That's life at its nutshell, isn't it?
Yeah.
Always. It's the
And that-
nuance, and
yeah.
it's around the campfire when
Yeah.
you're all having these heated
Yeah.
exchange.
And there's nothing wrong with that.
It all comes to balance in
Yeah.
the end. It
There's-
really does. Because life, truly,
Yeah.
it is supposed to be a battle. I think
Yeah.
it's in Buddhism, isn't it? Where to find nirvana,
Yeah.
you're supposed to, I think it was Joseph Campbell, but first his quotation was follow your bliss.
Yeah.
And then on his deathbed, he actually says, what I'd prefer to have changed that to was follow your blisters.
Yeah.
Meaning, go and do the hard work, go
Yeah.
and put in the effort, go and put in where it's painful is probably where the gold is for you.
Yeah.
And follow down that path, and that's where nirvana is going to be at the end
Yeah.
of it, because it's this rewarding feeling, and we have gone too soft.
Yeah.
We are expecting
Yeah.
life to just be this easy,
And it's not.
passive motion. And it's
Yeah.
supposed to be the turbulence. And like you said in one of your podcasts too, the hard days bring the light
Yeah.
and make them feel more special. And that's what life can become. And it's an amalgamation of this and a building process
Yeah.
of it. And I do think I'm meeting a lot of young people now who just expect to turn up
Yeah.
and feel this sense of righteousness.
Yeah.
They feel this sense of I should be treated in this certain way, and it's like no. There's an element of
Yeah.
you got to work for this too,
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
yeah.
we meet halfway,
Halfway.
and then we're all working
Yeah, yeah.
together on this, and that's what life is. It's
And that-
it's a constant.
And that's why I kind of use that race analogy.
Yeah,
You know,
I like it. It's a good
Yeah.
analogy. I'll use that. I'm
yeah,
nicking it.
Yeah, no, you feel free. But honestly, for me, you've kind of you've got to look at the past. You've got to learn from the past to be able to move forwards. But you don't punish yourself
No.
for things that have happened in the past.
You stay prisoner to that, don't you?
Yeah, because whether you learn the lessons from 300 years ago, 200 years ago, is that acceptable today? No, it isn't. But does that mean that it doesn't have any relevance
Yeah.
today?
We can't just abolish it.
No,
Pretend it didn't exist.
no, because it did.
Yeah.
But does it make it right tomorrow? No, not at all. But same with my mental health. Same with my me cut when I've cut my wrists.
Yeah.
Same as when things have not gone right for me. I don't blame anybody for them. I don't want people to feel sorry for my past because it's made me who I am today.
Yeah.
But who I am today is not going to be who I am tomorrow. So do I learn the lessons from the past and accept them today so I can have a better tomorrow? Yeah.
Amen, brother. Mate, I really enjoy this podcast. I'm looking forward to tuning into your podcast more often. Can we talk just a little bit
Yeah.
about the podcast?
Of course. Yeah.
Like what you're talking about then, and the beautiful messages and metaphors and ideologies
Yeah.
and thoughts in there. Is that what you want this podcast to become? What's the direction?
We've got an ultimate message of men, it's okay if you feel shit.
Yeah.
If you feel broken, if you feel down, it's okay. What's not okay is for you not to be here tomorrow. So understand your feelings, accept your feelings, learn from them feelings, and move forward. Open up about them. But we want not just men to realise that there, but we want families to come on. People that have lost somebody to suicide, that they know somebody that's suffered with a mental health. We want them people to come on to share their stories. And then we want the professionals to come on to kind of bring a little bit of clarity to what's been said in previous episodes. But ultimately it's a space to make, like I say, men understand that it's okay not to be okay. And I know that's kind of thrown around a fair bit,
Yeah.
but we want it to bring true sentiment.
Yeah.
And ultimately, let's be frank. That's our message.
Yeah.
Let's be frank. Have a frank conversation around men's mental health, around suicide. Let's learn from it let's see what we can do with it.
So you're aiming to get on as many different male voices and perspectives.
Well, not just
as
male
possible.
voices. So we do
course,
we do want men on. We do, at the end of the day, we are a men's mental health podcast. We're a men's mental health group. We are two blokes that we are not professionals, but we've got lived experiences in different parts, different aspects. But we want other men to come on and share their experiences. But like I said, we want men, we want the girlfriends to come on, we want brothers to come on, we want mothers to come on, we want fathers to come on to spread their message as well. Just ultimately so men know it is okay to open up about their feelings and learn from their feelings, and to be able to move on from them feelings.
Mate. And just out of interest in terms of podcast, because it is such a beautiful platform. Why I started my podcast was because I'd found inspiration from other podcasts and never heard that sort of conversation being spilled before. And as soon as I heard it, I was like, oh, I've got to do something. Did you have a moment like that too? Is there any mentors or bit of like podcasts that you listen to, documentaries or anything where you thought, oh wow, that's a powerful way of dishing it out. I'd like to do my own little version of that. Or books, maybe, anything in terms of resources towards mental health.
There was a book called The Courage to be Disliked.
Ooh, that sounds good. Do you know who wrote that?
No, but I will find out.
Yeah,
for you.
mate, that sounds
awesome. And it was
awesome.
called The Courage to be Disliked. And what it was about is being honest to yourself. So you're not going to be able to please everybody. Put yourself first.
Yeah.
Even if you've got kids, wives, family, taking that 10 minutes for yourself, whether that's listening to a podcast, whether that's going down garden shed, whether that's going for a run, going for a walk, going to throw a ball around with the lads, taking that 10 minutes, an hour, whatever it is, purely for you. There's more to it than that.
Like unapologetically.
Unapologetically. Have the courage to turn around and be disliked. It's not literally as it sounds, but it is in a way.
Yeah.
You're not going to, in that moment, you're not there to please other people. And then there's a really good lady that's going to be coming on to our podcast quite regularly, who helped one of my friends out that went through a similar sort of, well, we didn't go through the exact same thing that second time in the army, but he experienced it from the same people. He's helped her out. Well, she's helped him out. She helped Jack out, called Jane Lambert. And this lady, she does so much for mental health, for men's mental health, for mental health in general. She kind of give me kind of inspiration to talk about what I want to do, as in get my feelings out there. And encourage me to open up to other blokes, to get my story out there, because the power of conversation is unbelievable. And Jane Lambert, she's another one. And then Jack, when me and Jack have sat down and sometimes we've not talked about anything but shit. just shit. I got another lad, Carl, that did have a little bit to do with, let's be frank, but he, for his own sake, he's pulled away from it. And you know what? That's fine. He's not feeling that it's the right project for him. Sometimes we just sit down and just talk about nothing but everything. My cousin Chris. And I just think if I can do this and make it, so I'm sat, just like we sat in a pub and you're talking to your mate in a pub. That's what the podcast is. Just having a conversation. And if it inspires somebody else to feel better, and if it's just one if we go for 10 episodes, if we go for 100 episodes, if we go for 10 years, and in all that time I've only ever spoken to somebody's talked one word, one sentence from all of that time, and it's saved their life. Do you know what? That's why I'm doing this. That's why Jack's doing this.
Mate, it helps relieve any pressure you've got when you're doing a big mammoth task. And you start looking for, we could reach the thousands and thousands. It somewhat makes it insurmountable and such a big step in front. But if you can just go, oh, let's come back a little bit.
Yeah.
Let's speak to that, not even just one person, but that person you were, and what would you have needed in that moment. It starts to redefine it, doesn't it? And resettle you and go, ooh, I'm just going to do what I needed.
This kind of comes down, it is a bit of marketing, okay? Not for my podcast, not for my like soft tissue business, not for anything like that. But my rates as a soft tissue therapist, my rates for working are not the cheapest. Okay, I'm not there to help everyone. I'm there to help someone.
Yeah.
And for me to help that one person, I've got to know who they are. I've got to know their background. I've got to know how much money they're on. So you've really got to refine who this person is. And you might only speak to one person that will be willing to pay my rate. And do you know what? That one person is okay, because that one person will know 10 others like themselves. They will surround themselves with 10 other people. So all of a sudden, I've got 11 clients, and then 10 other people will know more like themselves. So if I speak to that one person in one podcast, they'll know others like themselves.
Emanates.
And that's I'm after that one person.
Yeah,
That's
it's
it.
remarkable, man. It's the ripples in the waves, man, and the ocean. And I can see it happening. So, say somebody listening to this now that feels inspired. Okay. How could they help you guys out? Sharing more? Could they get involved? Where can they go to?
We've got a Facebook group. Literally, if you look for this logo.
This one is your big one.
This one. Ignore that one. Let's be frank. We're on Facebook, so we've got a Facebook page, but we do post on there. But literally, if you look on, this one's for the blokes, but if you look on Facebook and Let's Be Frank Men's Mental Health group, you'll pretty much find this logo with a couple of I think it's a couple of thumbs up or something like that.
Rocking it.
That's it. Baby. That's the group. Then you've got the Let's Be Frank Men's Mental Health Facebook group, podcast. Literally, if you put Let's Be Frank Men's Mental Health podcast, we're literally on every platform going. We've just launched on YouTube as well. Let's Be Frank, and we're not doing fancy videos. All it is going to be an overlay with the podcast underneath at the moment, because, like I say, me and Jack are
worlds apart.
So it's the best we can do at the moment. You know, our uploads aren't the best at the moment. Picture quality's not great. So that's another place to look at. Twitter, that's just for general updates and just inspirational stuff on Twitter. But yeah, just Let's Be Frank and just share the shit out of it.
Yes, mate.
Listen to it, take value from it. If you want to come on, if you're a bloke, you want to come on, do you know what? You don't need anything fancy.
No qualifications.
No telephone, headset, quiet room. Do you know what? Internet connection will do the rest. Mate. Share your story. Families, wives, husbands, sons, daughters.
Getting it funded or anything like that? Have you looked down different routes and possibilities of?
So, like I said, we did look at a charity, looking at forming a charity, but for us where we are at the moment, I don't think that's the right step.
Yeah.
If it comes to funding the actual podcast, I'll be honest with you, I don't know where I'm looking for that. It would be good if I could do this.
Well, I think there's a PRS is a good place to go.
Okay.
That's what fund musicians predominantly, but the money that they get from that, there's a lot of funding pots, and it's usually for audio stuff. So yeah definitely.
That'd be really good.
I'll send you some links.
That'd be awesome.
Ideas. Because
we would.
You've got a great thing going, man.
We would love even if it was, I could fund, because this is, I love doing this and I want to do it more, and if we could. Because we both work full time, we've both got families at the end of the day, we've both got lives to still think about. This is kind of 5 or 6 hours a week that we do because we love doing it. If I could spend more time doing it, obviously there would need to be some sort of something back, but I still need to fund. I've still got a mortgage to pay. I've still got bills to pay.
Mouths to feed.
Yeah, mouths to feed. So if I could do that, do you know what? I would drop everything tomorrow to do this, to get my word out there.
Mate, I can see it happening. You're a good bloke, and I've really enjoyed meeting you today. Let's connect.
Yeah, let's do it, man.
It's been a great story, great share. I think we've probably got another episode in us to really get into the nitty gritty.
I would love to bring Jack on.
Yeah, mate, let's do that.
It might have to be via Twitter.
Let's get Jack's story, and then let's have another little episode where we can just connect. And I've got cool people for you to meet too.
Yeah, I would love to. I'd love to jump on.
There's a lot of people struggling nowadays, mate. A lot of people struggling, going through it quietly, and we want to bring it to the surface. Let them know they're not alone. They're not alone.
Just remember, you're loved.
Oh, mate, you're a fucking top lad.
Brother.
And I'm very glad I've met you.
Brother, I love you.
Yeah, mate. Got it. What are we going for? Fist pump, shake of hands,
Joyce,
twiddly fingers. Mate, I'm going to do my bit, and I've really enjoyed this. Guys, you've been a part of the Old Farm Bus, Back of the Bus Sessions podcast. I'm going to leave you on this. I always do. I always will. Just be nice to one another, you beautiful set of buggers. All you got to do. Be nice.